day by day. The way of the crypto warriors can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning. Big Weir, roadtoruda.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. All right, the Instagram giveaway, pages giveaway ends today. So make sure you go to Instagram, follow page. It's on.the.road-to-ruda. She's got a ton of stuff here. But if you want to get in the giveaway, click right here. You got to follow. And then she lays it out pretty good. What do you win? 100 Theta fuel loaded on a paper wallet. You get access to my Buy, Store, and Stake Theta article, and you get a Big Square black hat. It's very few in the world, by the way. So go to Instagram on.the.road-to-ruda and click on the first thing. It tells you what you need to do. There's the prizes, the rules. Follow. You got to follow me on Instagram. Like the post and tag 2 friends in the comment section. Optional, share this post, your story, and receive 5 bonus entries. She's good. Paige is good. Go check that out. But not only that, go check out all the stuff on the Instagram page. All the, like right here. Click on that. You're going to see what's Theta. Paige did a Word Wednesday all about Theta. Right here. Go check it out. Go check out on.the.road-to-ruda. Tons of stuff. Paige is doing a great job. Support the kid, right? Support the kid. All right. Really interesting to me is that the Fed, Bank of New York, is just going full bore with the educational comic books. Why is it? Hang on. No, not COVID. Well, how do you know, Bix? Have you been tested? No, coffee for me is usually I had a few beers the night before. But educational comic book series, the Fed is pumping it. Now, it's coming out of the Fed of New York, and they're talking about all the new comics they did. I would really, really love to see if it came out of the Fed Boston. They only have one comic. It's the Road to Ruda comic. Well, the Wishes and Rainbows comic and Road to Ruda, the Teacher's Guide. But of course, Federal Reserve Bank of New York is where the character Glix comes from, Glix. He runs around singing, playing guitar and singing about Federal Reserve stuff. Absolutely 100% based on yours truly, Bix. Glix and Bix. And Glix is right there, the guy in green with the cape. I don't quite look like that. I think they got the semblance a little bit off. But they're doing a classroom resource for teachers, a webinar on September 30th. I'm going to follow that one, definitely. And check out they have a new comic out. See, the new ones aren't quite as clear. There's little hints, but nothing big jumps out yet. If you guys read through these comic books and you say, oh my God, look at this. There's a one that has, I think it's this one, has a word maze. And I'm just started to look at that, kind of like the cover of the Economist magazine, which I still haven't posted. I've got all the words. I just need to put it together. And that will be posted on the private road, by the way. I believe. The video will be. I'm working on a written report. We'll see. I'm busy, all right? Anyway, excited to see that. You guys can join that. Just go to newyorkfed.org and go to Outreach Education Comic Books, or just Google Federal Reserve Bank of New York comic books, and you'll find it. Love to see this. The Premier League Soccer abandons BLM political movement. BLM political movement is Black Lives Matter, the group. When you contribute money to Black Lives Matter, it goes straight to, well, it used to be 2 old white guys. Now it goes to 1, Joe Biden. I don't know why these sports teams hook up with these. They get caught up in the moment. Everybody gets caught up in the moment. Their brain, it's like they removed their brain for a little while. And now they're starting to say, oh, well, who is BLM and what do they stand for? Defunding the police, destroying our cities, destroying our way of life? Are you kidding me? No. So I'm happy to see Premier League Soccer taking the first step. Everybody else is going to follow. These people got brainwashed by these crazy activists. But having said that, the concept of all lives matter, and they hate when you say that, but they do. I hate to tell you, all lives matter. All souls matter. A black person is no different from a white person with their soul. We're all souls living an experience here on earth that is just temporary. It's like differentiating people between if you ride a white car or a black car. Your soul's, your body's in the car, but should you discriminate based on the color of the car? Absolutely not. So that's the way I look at it. And these, I got to give it to, the players don't know what the hell, they're sports players, right? They're sports guys. They're not rocket scientists. No offense, Tarn. They're sports guys for the most part, right? They're going to go with the flow. They go wherever the big movement is. Before it was all money. Now, that's a big thing also. They're starting to see their money go away, which all of a sudden they got to rely on their brains, and that's a problem with some athletes. So, BLM will be going away from all sports teams very soon. It's toxic. That entity is toxic. And the whole movement is toxic. Defund the police? Really? Really? The places that have defunded the police are absolute and total destruction. Why? Because you let people like the BLM leadership run the show. And you end up with a lawless, crazy town. That's fine if you want to do it. Go for it. But don't expect... See, we all come from a nanny state. We're all living in a nanny state. When the banks go wrong, we expect bailouts. Don't tell me you didn't expect a bailout. Everybody I talk to says, oh, I would never bail out the banks. But everybody I talk to says, oh my God, if my 401k gets destroyed, that's the end of life. As we know it. No, we have to bail out the banks. Come on, people. You can't have it both ways. That's what one of the decisions we're heading into, this latest congressional bailout. If it is not bailed out, which I don't think it will be, I'm not sure. Trump has been saying January 1st is the changing of the financial system. I think Trump can't decide that. I don't think anybody can decide that. What we can decide is if we bail out the banks again. If we don't bail out the banks, you got derivative problems going sideways left and right. So bravo, Premier League Soccer, get on the ball. NFL, the MLS, the National Baseball, basketball, all of it. Get on board. Just chalk it up to a little brief moment of insanity and let's move forward. Talk about moving forward. Look what they're doing to silver today. Silver's rigged. Silver's rigged. There is a talk, I'll show you in a second, that JP Morgan has been leasing out a lot of its physical silver. I don't even know if they have any. I do believe that Ted Butler is correct. According to the data, yeah, they have right now about 700 million ounces. 7 times what the Hunt brothers have, 7 times what Buffett had. Why is it legal? Because it's JP Morgan. They don't follow rules. Laws don't apply to JP Morgan. I don't know if Chris Marcus has posted my discussion in his silver conference from last weekend. Check that out. I talk about whether or not JP Morgan should be allowed to trade in silver. And obviously the answer is hell no. They shouldn't be allowed to trade in anything. They should have had their banking license revoked years ago, decades ago, over a century ago. But no. That's where the battle is. Right now, Trump and the good guys are battling JP Morgan and the bad guys. Why do you think the repo problem happened? It's because JP Morgan, who was like 60% of the market, pulled out. The very day repo prices shot to 10% is the day they laid RICO charges on the 3 gold silver traders at JP Morgan. This is a battle to the end. So keep an eye on it. They can click a mouse and set the price of silver to $0 or $1 million. And they can do that with any market at any time. And I told you it's going to get extremely volatile this week and next week and for the next 3 months. Volatile is, you might see these prices go to zero and then all of a sudden jump to $100 an ounce and then go to 50 and then shut down. This is the time. So what can you do? You can get your assets in your own possession. You can fire up your barbecue, put out your lawn chair, and watch the insanity ensue over the next couple months. See this little price ding right here? That's a click of a mouse. It doesn't mean anything. No silver was traded in that move. Nothing. Not an ounce. No silver. Stuff like this, you're going to see volume start kicking up over a billion ounces a day. It's stupid. It's a virtual reality game that the world has been sucked into since the invention of computers. The invention of the financial machine going on today was invented by Alan Greenspan in the 1960s. Yes, the same Alan Greenspan who was the head of the Fed. Yes, the same Alan Greenspan who was the biggest gold bug in the world in the 60s. It's all done with computers and derivatives, 100%. This is why you have to have your assets in your own possession. You cannot keep them in an exchange at all. None. Zero in an exchange. Zero in any third-party storage of your metals. Are you kidding? You think, I don't care how nice the people are who are holding your metal. The moment the financial system collapses, the guards of that vault are going to walk in and take all your silver and gold. Why? Because they have families too. Their lives have been destroyed too. So anything they can get their hands on, they're going to save their family. You would do the same thing too. They're not going to stand on the wall while they watch their lives burn. Get your metal in your own possession. Go down to your local silver store and say, hey, in the last 24 hours, I can save 77 cents on 1 ounce of silver. Go do it. Go save some money. If you don't have a local silver guy, contact Andy Scheckman at Miles Franklin. He's helping all the Road to Ruta people, getting you the best price. Send him an email, Andy, A-N-D-Y, at milesfranklin.com, milesfranklin.com. $26, $27 silver. I remember Ted Butler back in the early 2000s when silver was like, I don't know, $5 or $6. Very early days. And they'd slam it and he'd analyze it, all the things. And he said in his recent post, they might have one more slam down. But I remember back in the 2000s, he said, it was a great term. He said, here's the risk. You have dimes to the downside, meaning it can go from $5 to $5.90 or $4.90, and dollars to the upside. Dimes to the downside, dollars to the upside. And here I'd say you have dollars to the downside. Maybe it could go down to 24, 23, potentially. The upside potential is unlimited. There is talk of $600 silver being the next stop for silver. After the market chaos crash, they're going to stop it at 600 to try to revalue silver. I don't think it'll stop there, but that wouldn't be a bad return. So these numbers are fake. The numbers you're looking at on the Crimex, as we call it, the Crimex, are fake. And I hope everybody understands that. All right, a lot of people sending me this discussion between Jim Willey and Robert David Steele. They're finally starting to talk about gold in the Grand Canyon. Now on the Road to Ruta, you've heard it for 10 years, over 10 years. Maybe 10 years. I discovered the gold in the Grand Canyon after the Road to Ruta documents from the Fed. And then it took me years after I discovered the gold in the Grand Canyon to look at the original Fed comic book where Ruta's finding these sunlit caves in the big canyon, cobblestone canyon. Duh. Fix weird. Duh. Yes. Anyway, check this out where they discuss a little bit about the gold in the Grand Canyon. I'll comment on it after.
Are you seeing Asian gold coming out of the tunnels in Indonesia, Korea, and the Philippines?
I think there's a number of what are called troves that are coming out, and I don't think it's going into the gold supply. I think it's coming out into the loading dock for the release of the gold standard coming out in the next year or two, whenever we do that.
Wow. Let me tell my listeners that I'm friends with Peggy and Sterling Seagrave, who wrote the book Gold Warriors. And
Oh, by the way, that book is amazing. Peggy and Sterling Seagrave spent their whole lives researching this stuff. I have 3 discs of data that they couldn't even include in the book. And a lot of people say, Bix, why don't you dive deeper into the Grand Canyon and prove it once and for all? I've proven it once and for all. I could spend my whole life doing it like Peggy and Sterling did. But did it change anything? No. It doesn't change anything unless people understands what's happening and tell the government, hey, we won't stand for this bullshit of rigging the silver and gold markets. Anyway.
And it's a great book. There is a lot of gold that's still hidden in Asia that can be mobilized. There's also reports that President Trump's decision to mine for uranium in the Grand Canyon area is actually a secret mission to go after the gold that's known to be there. Does that track with you?
You know, I got to be honest. Until a couple weeks ago, I said there might be gold in the Grand Canyon, but you know, wake me up in 50 years when they ever go after it.
Right.
I'm now being informed by some clients that 70 years ago, there was a tremendous amount of gold in certain tunnels.
Yep.
On the periphery of the Grand Canyon. And you got to bear in mind, this is a very large site. I went to the Grand Canyon in 1976 after getting my master's. I went on a camping trip and I did an experiment. And I'm a good baseball player. I took a decent sized rock. I mean, a rock maybe a third the size of my fist. And I went on a little viewing platform and I threw it as far as I could at a good high angle. And I don't think I even got 2% down that hill. It is a gigantic site that you can see when you're on a flight out of California or Las Vegas. They even pointed out on your right, passengers, take a look on the right side of your cabin, and you can see the Grand Canyon. It's gigantic. Okay, now what I've come to learn is that there really is a lot of gold. But, you know, we're going to have an act of Congress. Yeah, nice expression. We're going to have a rather severe incident to go after it and mine it. We would have to say mine 1/4 from a certain angle so that we preserve our national monument. And before you know it, a couple of years pass and we've got tunnel systems that are way deep, a mile deep, and go in from various different angles, but don't obstruct the view from your viewing platforms for our national monument. I don't think we're going to take over the whole Grand Canyon and just waylay it and make this big circular open pit.
Let's unpack a little of that. Unpack. That's a JC term. Let's unpack this. What Jim's talking about 70 years ago is the time frame that all this gold was discovered, the gold and the tunnels. Let's think about that for a second. The gold was discovered back in the early 1900s. I've documented that a million times. If you want to learn more about that, just go to the Road to Ruta, go on to resources. You can do a search on the Road to Ruta. I have. How about this? How about this article? June 19, 1912, right before the creation of the Federal Reserve, tell of vast riches in the Grand Canyon. Men engaged in gold dredging expect to astonish the world, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely 100% true. What happened? There was billions and billions and billions of ounces in the banks of the Colorado River. Billions of ounces. It would have changed the world. There was only 130 million ounces in circulation at the time. What happened? Woodrow Wilson shut it down. Created the Federal Reserve System because of this, shut down mining in the Grand Canyon, said, oh my God, what are we going to do? Let's kick the can. Let's pretend it's not there. Now, one of the things that is not discussed here, Jim Willie laid out a little bit, just teased it, is the tunnels. He said that some large gold was found in these tunnels. What he didn't say is it was already refined gold. It was in bars, it was in statues, it was in trinkets. Much more beautiful than what they found in King Tut's tomb and all that stuff. And what he didn't say is there's a hell of a lot more that has not been discovered. Hell of a lot more. But you don't even need more. We're talking about, Jeffrey Christian of CPM Group tells you that there's 200,000 tons of gold that's ever been mined in history, and that's what we price it off. There's 200,000 tons of gold. That's bullshit. There's millions of tons of gold that have already been mined, so to speak, refined, but it was done long before humanity was our version of history was around. Go back in time. Go back before this version of history was created. If you go in the 1800s, there's stories all over the Southwest of people who find these gigantic skeletons, like big skeletons, like over 20 feet tall. I'm not bullshitting you. Go back in those early newspapers and check out all the newspapers saying, "Oh my God, another skeleton found over on the mounds, those burial mounds all over the United States." They kept pulling out giant skeletons out of those things. Our history is not what we were told. Why do you think they named all the mountains on the base of the Grand Canyon? There's a question. Why are there mountains in the base of the Grand Canyon? I mean, you've got this canyon that was split apart. It was not a lazy river, split apart, and then you have a pyramid-shaped mountain, a pyramid-shaped mountain, a pyramid-shaped mountain, all named after Egyptian gods. Our history is not what we were told. So yes, they did find massive amounts of gold in the Grand Canyon that could be mined, a huge mining seam, quite a few of them, not to mention just the sand in the Grand Canyon holds a hell of a lot of gold. But they also found already refined, beautifully decorated ornaments and statuettes and big statues of Buddha and all these things and refined gold bars in these tunnels that were there long before, like hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of years before. That's the world we're going to come into when this bullshit ends. The market rigging bullshit, the deep state bullshit. We can't have any secrets going forward. And that will change the world, and that's what's coming. So, Jim kind of scratched the surface. One of the reasons when he says 70 years ago is like the mid-50s, right? One of the reasons he said that is because that's when one of the huge Chinese loans, we borrowed gold from China, massive amounts of gold from China, and we had to pay it back in the 1954 or 55, maybe 56. But that gold was coming out of the Grand Canyon. We had to pretend there was an aircraft, big airliner explosion, collision, right above the exact same spot where they found the gold in the Grand Canyon. We had to shut down the Grand Canyon for 2 weeks back in mid-1950s. It was the first major airline collision in history. And they took off from the same airport going two different directions. One to Chicago, one to St. Louis, and they crashed right over that spot in the Grand Canyon. They didn't crash. It never happened. And then they threw airplane parts all over the Grand Canyon and said, okay, everything's shut down. We got to bring in heavy lift helicopters to bring out all the dead bodies and all the wreckage and blah, blah, blah. Well, people are still finding aircraft stuff in the Grand Canyon. But the problem is the parts that they're finding aren't matching either one of the aircraft that crashed. That's the world we're living in. That's the world. That's the curtain we need to rip apart. Go to roadtoruta.com. I am actually talking to Jenny Moonstone today about the original Road to Ruta documents. I'm really excited about this because she can add a lot of insight to my analysis. She didn't know anything about, I don't think, about the full analysis of the Road to Ruta, which is great because she comes from a a perspective of I'm either going to get confirmation or no, it's not that. It's something else. Because I'm not going to tell her what it is. She's going to tell me what she sees, which is really cool. And that's why I like that little program we got going on. You want to watch the Jenny Moonstone interviews, go to roadroo.com and join the private road. I think we're up to 7 or 8. I'm doing another one today. Really excited about that. Anyway, so there you go. It took them a long time, but the world is starting to open up that, oh my God, there's massive amounts of gold in the world. It doesn't mean the price of gold is going to go down. If it was fairly priced and fairly traded on exchanges, yes, it would go down, but it's not. Gold has been price rigged for probably as long as silver, definitely since 1912, since the discovery of this. That's when the gold price suppression really started in earnest. They didn't have the tools, so what did they have to do? They had to create unbacked fiat money, create the Federal Reserve System. It's all about the gold found in the Grand Canyon. You heard it here first, my friends.
It's the way of the crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely